So, welcome, welcome, welcome to Tel Aviv AWS Summit. Woohoo! You guys have to be very kind to me. I traveled a long way to get here, and I'm very happy, but I am from Atlanta, Georgia in the States. That means that you guys are about 8 to 10 hours ahead of me, and if I sound incoherent at parts, it's your fault. It's your time zone. Okay, so let me introduce myself quickly. I am Tara Walker. I am a technical evangelist. Now, for you guys who've already told me that you need to know what that is, no worries, I was going to tell you anyway. So a technical evangelist pretty much is a software engineer that talks to people. Most of us don't like to talk to people, but technical evangelists actually do. So if you saw my title and thought that I could save you, you're in a holy city, so I hope you didn't think that, and that I was going to actually preach the good word, I'm so disappointed because you're in the wrong session. I can only tell you about CodeStar and continuous integration and continuous development. So that's what a technical evangelist is. We are software engineers that actually don't mind talking to people. It's a rare breed out there. So let's get started on what we're going to talk about here, because like I said, we have very limited time. My clicker is not clicking. That is never a good thing. Let's try this again. Clicker being clicked is always a positive thing. Let's try it again. Haha, clicker's not working. All right, so we're going to talk about really quickly. I like to level set when I have these talks, right? So we're going to talk about what is DevOps really briefly, because I'm sure you guys in the room already know. You're brilliant guys. You know what this is. But I need to talk to you about what is AWS-enabled DevOps. So I'm going to make sure we level set that here so we're on the same page. And then when we have that all together and we're all marching in the same direction, then we're going to talk about CodeStar. What is CodeStar? This thing that you all want to name CodeStar and all this other stuff. I get so many things about CodeStar. What are you talking about? So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about what CodeStar kicks off as far as CI/CD in relationship to AWS Code Services and how that can actually help you. And finally, we're going to talk about issue tracking with CodeStar, because again, we have integration with, you can do pretty much almost anything you want in one central repository and dashboard. So we're going to talk about that in relationship to CI/CD, adding some issue tracking and what that actually means, right? Then we're going to sum it up. I'm going to get off the stage, and hopefully you guys would have learned something by the time I'm finished in my 40 minutes, all right? We're going to get started. Any questions before I start? Anything? I got the technical evangelist title out the way. I put the caveat out there that the 8-hour time difference, I may be sleepy. Anything else I need to do? Okay, good. Let's get started. All right, so I'm just going to do the net, what is DevOps? You guys kind of already know this, right? It's the fusion of software development and ops. So someone got really brilliant. Peter got really brilliant. That's the guy who kind of coined the phrase. And he put together DevOps. Now, when you talk about DevOps in a position of what are the best practices to implement this new merger of software and operations, now what you're talking about is something that actually got spawned from Agile. Agile. See, I can't talk already. Continuous deployment. So that actually morphed into something more to be continuous integration and continuous delivery that you know today. Continuous deployment pretty much was a concept where these Agile guys got together and they wanted to continuously push software out there, but they weren't doing it in the right way to take considerations of operations. And so continuous integration and delivery was born. Now here's the trick. If you're really doing DevOps right, we hope you are, there's some caveats that I have to put out there to say if you really are doing it right. If you're doing it right, there are no silos. You are putting an emphasis on the communication. You're one team. Software developers, operations, there's not this line of delineation there. You all are doing it really in cohesive teams. That's really if you're doing DevOps. So no silos. You're taking advantage of some of the best practices that are out there for the discipline. So obviously we're talking about continuous integration and development, but if you're doing DevOps right, you are all about automation, you're all about managing change, and you're all about doing things very quickly but very efficiently. So automation is the name of the game when it comes to that. And finally, what it does for you in those great things is you get apps out there faster, and that's cool, but you get apps out there that have less bugs. You can move more quickly, but again, you're making sure that things you're releasing actually are good products, and you can respond to your customers. So that's the whole DevOps story. I'm sure if you guys are in the room, that means you love DevOps. It's great. You know why we're here to talk about it. So, are the slides going to be online? I'm sure they are, but I will make sure. So, There are 4 main phases of DevOps, and this is going to be in relationship to how you integrate when you do DevOps on AWS. So pay attention so we make sure we're on the same page. First, you obviously have your source. That can be anything, Java, JS, you name it, the language you want, it's supported. Then you talk about your build. That's the second phase, if you will, of the major phases of DevOps. The third phase is going to be testing. So hopefully you guys are doing testing. Testing is good. As a software engineer, I can't say I always thought testing was good, but I have grown up, so now I think I do. And then finally, production. You want to deploy to your production environments. And again, with DevOps, you're hoping these things are happening in not only a consistent manner, but in an automated, consistent manner where you can catch bugs and other things. So we got that covered. We got the 4 main phases. We know what DevOps model should be. Now let's look at the last 2 things about DevOps. We want to make sure we're on the same page. What truly is continuous integration? And the reason why I'm going over this topic is because I hear, well, I'm going to be frank, I hear this wrong all the time. So before we go forward, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Continuous integration mainly is at the build or integration stage, right? When you talk about CI, you're talking about you push some code out there to some repository, it's being picked up, automated build happens, and you can actually do some of the testing there, some of the base unit testing and everything else. That's continuous integration. When you get to continuous delivery, it's going to go across the spectrum, but main thing is it really kind of picks up right at the build stage and then starts to think about things like deploy. So before I deploy, I'm going to test. I have these testing phases. I'm going to look at all the code changes. I'm going to have possibly an approval mechanism to say, yeah, this is truly good to go. So I want to make sure we understand that CI/CD are very complementary to each other, but where one is talking about, if I'm just talking about continuous integration versus just talking about continuous delivery. And like I said, I just say that typically because people kind of merge them in together, and it's going to be important if I talk about CodeStar that you understand those changes. Yes?
Do you differentiate between continuous delivery and continuous deployment?
Great question. So if you see my first slide up there, continuous deployment pretty much was an agile methodology where software automatically gets deployed. When you add continuous integration and deployment, now you have from the build, you add testing into it, then I have the approval process into it, and then it goes in production. Continuous deployment did not have those phases. It was truly an agile methodology of how to compile your code and immediately deploy it. This is actually, you can deploy to multiple stages, whether it be production, beta, test, or whatever, and you're doing it in automated fashion, which also involves testing. So again, a little bit of a nuance there, but make sure you understand that continuous deployment was kind of like the grandfather, if you will, and then these are the children that kind of evolved a little bit better. All right. Now that we have these process models, we talked about the level. Once again, just reiterating, so continuous integration goes all the way to build right at test. Continuous delivery goes all the way through, but this is where you actually have your testing, spitting out, testing bugs, spitting out things, going to possibly, when I say production, possibly test environments and production. And then continuous deployment then is, this is where you go all the way just straight to production. You don't have the phases where you do the test. See, I was going to get there. Now, how does this relate to AWS? Because that's what you guys are here for. We have a bunch of code services specifically designed to help enable your CI/CD movements. So I want to commit code and have my pipeline pick it up. I want to deploy code. I want to build code in a certain way and in certain environments. So we have code services to do that. But what enables all of these very easily is what we're here to talk about today, and that's going to be CodeStar. Now, before I go into CodeStar, let me say to you that you absolutely, unequivocally, do not have to use CodeStar to create your code pipeline, to do deployment, to do build and commits. This is just a way to do that quickly, so it can have the best practices of the way you want to work. And we're going to do a demo so you'll see what that means. But CodeStar really encompasses all of that. So what is CodeStar? You can read the slide. I won't. That's just for you guys later. Pretty much the key tenets of CodeStar are going to be as follows. We're going to release code faster, quickly, to get development on AWS. That's what you're here for, right? It's going to also provide a unified dashboard that you can encompass every part of your development. I want to do issue tracking. I want to do project management. I want to know what happened when it deployed to the beta versus when it deployed to my staging. We have a unified dashboard to do that for you. So the CodeStar does that. And what it helps you do is, based upon whatever language you so desire, we kind of cover all the popular ones, it helps you develop, deploy, and go through those CI/CD steps, setting that up for you very simply, and your team management. That's CodeStar in a nutshell. But again, this pretty slide I put together is more for you guys later. So when you look at CodeStar from a graphics perspective, all of those code services that I talked about before that you absolutely still can use to build your own pipeline with code pipeline, to determine how you want to release code and have your Git repository with code commit, you still have all the opportunities to do that. But with CodeStar, it actually sets up these services for you based upon the project that you are going to build. How does it do that? Here are the key features about CodeStar that enables all this to happen. The one I'm going to call out really quickly, and again, this is for you, not me. I'm not going to read that slide. You guys can read. Our project template. So what if I want to build some serverless thing on EC2, or I want to build a microservice with Ruby, or better yet, I want to do something with Java that has this web application. I might want to deploy that serverlessly. There's so many ways you may decide you want not only your project to run, but the language you want to use and how you want to manage your deployment. That's where the project templates come in. And we have over 20 plus templates. And you literally say, hey, I want to work on a project like this. And it then goes out and helps to provision those things for you. So you can read the slide and see the things that it provisions for you. But in a nutshell, what CodeStar will do for you is based upon your project, the way you want to work, it'll set up pretty much the guts and provision things for you. So again, that's why we say quickly and develop and get on AWS really quickly, because again, we'll do that for you. So that's the project templates. There are key things about project templates, and we'll show this in a demo, that you will know. The first thing is that you have 3 types of hosting environments, right? You can do the self-managed. So for some reason, when people hear CodeStar, they think we've taken the ability away from you to manage your EC2 instance. Absolutely not true. So that's why I wanted to make sure I called that out. You absolutely still have the ability to do that. So you can self-manage. So that's EC2 with code deploy. You can do a managed deployment, and that's Elastic Beanstalk. Or you can do a serverless deployment, and you can do that with AWS Lambda as the hosting engine for that. So again, 3 types of hosting environments. You pick your project templates based upon not only what hosting environment you want, but what kind of project you're doing. I want to build a website. I want to do a microservice. I want to do something. I can pick that template, and I want it to be in a certain language because that's my favorite language, and you get to pick yours. So that's kind of the gist of it. Yes, sir?
Are there plans to support container services as a deployment environment?
So you have with EC2, because you can use that deployment with code deploy, you can do that now.
I mean, to EC, to Elastic Container Service.
You can. So if you look at my YAML, which I won't get a chance to show here based upon time, I can create my build spec with code deploy to launch a whole bunch of different things. I could actually have EC2 running, and then I may have some other thing that's tied to, let's say I'm building a microservice that kicks off ECS. I may have some of my things running actually Lambda and microservices. I mean, I could really get granular with this. We're not taking that away. In fact, I can get so granular with these that, let's say my whole thing was serverless. I could literally script all of that out with AWS SAM. This takes none of that away. Just what it does for you is make it easier for you to get those things provisioned faster. So I hope that answered your question. I kind of...
So the key is the template. It's learning to use the template.
The key is not just learning to use the template. It's really just to provision things and get it set for you. It's really to understand the different services and how they work together. And then you can determine what you want to do from it. This will make more sense when we get to the demo. So let me hurry up and get to that. Clicking the button. But let me talk about the languages. See, you cut me off. So when you pick your project templates, let's talk about, we support pretty much most of the popular programming languages. You can see them there. And then we support most code editors. And I made sure that I put the AWS CLI there. So if you don't want to use a typical IDE, you can use a command line. We didn't take that away from you either. A lot of people asked about that. So again, you can actually check out and use this command line as well. Now, we got to the demo. So let's look at actually building a project with CodeStar. So I'm going to do 2 things here because the internet is a little slow. So while I was waiting for you guys to come in, I did a little cheat and created one. But just so you can know I'm really going to do this live, I'm going to start one. But if it takes a long time, then we'll punt over to the one I just created literally 5 minutes ago. So it's still kind of fresh and new. I haven't done anything with it. So let's look at the demo here. So I'm going to head over to my browser. Let me get out of that. Head over to the browser. All right, this is CodeStar, right? I'm going to switch from Ireland. I'm just going to go to US East just because. What you would do when you first start out, you saw that welcome page. It says start a project. If you've never done a project before, that'll be what you do. And then you'll hit start project. If you have done a project before, don't worry. Here's another button here that says create new project. Now the test again project, you can see I created when I was waiting for you guys to get here 46 minutes ago. But we're going to create one from scratch and cross our fingers that the internet is kind to us. But we have the test again project for a backup. Now, I talked about those project templates, right? Here they are. So you can see I can do Ruby on Rails. It's going to be a web application. It can be Elastic Beanstalk. I can do Java Spring on EC2. I can do Python on EC2. I can do Express on EC2. Or I could do Express on Elastic Beanstalk. I can do PHP. I mean, I can go down and blah, blah. I can do a lot of different web services running serverlessly. So, for instance, I can do the Express.js with a Lambda. I can use Flask. I could keep scrolling, but I'm not. We're going to just pick one here. So I'll just do Express. Once you pick your project template, and you saw those templates, like I said, I could have kept scrolling, but in the interest of time, you guys can check this out yourselves. Now all I have to do is pretty much name my project. So since I'm in Tel Aviv, we'll do Tel Aviv project, just because we're here. And then at this point, you're going to see, based upon the template I chose, which if you recall correctly, I chose an Express.js Lambda serverless project. If you choose a different one, this may look a little different. But based upon what I chose, it's going to go out. It's going to make a code commit repository for my project. It's going to have code build to be ready. I have not determined what test tools I want because we give you the ability to determine your test tools. And then it's going to do a deployment with CloudFormation templates. And why is that? Because I'm doing it serverless, so it's going to use SAM. SAM is our serverless application model for automated deployments. And it's going to use CloudFormation templates, that's the base of it. And then it's going to make sure I can monitor within CloudWatch. Now remember I talked about the dashboard, and I'll show that in a minute. But based upon what template you choose, that will determine what gets provisioned for you. So it's not just, oh, you're picking a project and I just felt warm and fuzzy for it. It actually determines the best things to provision based upon the type of project you picked. So this.
Sorry, you can also do Elastic Beanstalk, you said. So you can set a automatic configuration for triggering whatever.
Correct. So when I pick this project, whatever it is, you pick the project you want, it'll show you in that graphic, just like I showed you what it had for me, what gets provisioned. And then once it gets provisioned, you're going to see it's going to say creating your project. If that means it needs to provision certain things with Elastic Beanstalk, it's going to do your code pipeline. Mine is going to do a code pipeline here. All of that gets done for you. So pretty much when you click that project template, the language, the environment, the container, the whatever you're choosing, right, will get provisioned for you. I just happen here to choose, because it's easier to demo here, I just happen to choose serverless and Express.js. But if you notice all of those, absolutely you can choose any of those, and it will provision everything needed for the type of project you chose. Does that make sense?
You can change everything later if you want.
I'm going to change a little bit of something here while we're talking. Yeah.
The infrastructure level. Like the CloudFormation.
Oh, absolutely. I can add stuff to my cloud. This is just using SAM and CloudFormation. So if I decide I want to Elastic, I can change everything there. Again, it's provisioning things for you. And we have some things called build specs. And when you go out and choose it, we really help you. You're going to see. Actually, it's not going as slow since we're talking. But when you, yes, good. So when you go out and provision it, you're going to see this dashboard. Everything that I did is at your fingertips. It doesn't go away just because we provisioned it for you. We just made it easier for you to get to. Does that make more sense? So, okay, so this is actually going a little bit faster maybe because we had that conversation. A cooked pot never boils, I guess. So we have, it's 75% complete. Watch pot. See, I told you I was sleepy though. Didn't we talk about this earlier that it's 8 hours? Oh, okay, like it's in the middle of the night for me.
You used the word punt in a way I haven't heard in years. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Okay, well, see, maybe the sleepiness is okay. So, okay, so we have 87%. I'm not going to look at it because then it's going to take too long. All right, so see, that worked when I walked away. All right, so it is provisioning is complete, and as it slowly gets together, it's going to start to fill out these different things. See, it's still taking too long for me. All right, so.
What exactly did it provision right now?
All right, so you saw the little graphic that I showed.
There's no code, there's no source, there's no anything.
Actually, there is. We do a provision, a sample project for you. We actually do. But the code, you can just, again, this is a code pipeline, so you can push code and it will automatically generate your pipeline. However, for CodeStar, we actually did provision a project for you, and that conversation worked enough for it to finish provisioning, so I'll show you that I actually have a working website right now. So you're not letting me get to it. Patience. Oh, gosh. I mean, all right now. We got 20 minutes. Let me do this over here. I promise you. All right, so let me show you the project first because you guys are the little naysayers in here. So, I'm going to have to prove my point here. So the first thing you're going to notice on the right side is I actually have a code pipeline created for code deployment. And you'll see that it'll say code pipeline details, and it'll actually go to the code pipeline, like actual one. You'll see that I have a source, a release change, blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. It's still provisioning, so I'm going to wait. Because the reason why I know it's still provisioning is because it's doing the application endpoints. And because I'm impatient, I will come back to that one. I'll show you the one that's created. But I'll come back to it because you guys are naysayers, so I want you to know that it actually got created. I'm noticing the tension in the room. She's lying to us. It's not true. I'm telling the truth. So this is the one that I provisioned right before you came in. You'll see that once it's provisioned, I actually get an application endpoint. So, right, that means I actually have an application. It's working. Let's see. So if I click this is the sample project that it gives you. There's a sample project. It is running. It is working. So much so that let's actually make a change. Let me make sure my time, let me look at my time so make sure I'm doing my due diligence. Let me do one more thing before I make a change because I want to make sure I get to the key points. But we're going to make a change in here, and you're going to see the code pipeline kick off. So I should explain that first, and then we'll do it. However, you see, this is a real project. This is a sample project that gets made when you create it. So the code and everything running, this is a web application, so that's why you see this. If you created something different, a web service, you may see a different UI. All right. So that's the one I created just while you're waiting. I'll just go back and look at the other one just to make sure it's ready. Not yet. Okay, so we're gonna let that think. I told you the internet was slow. Let's go back to the slides and let's go from there. So, back to the slides. All right, so when I created that project, and I'm gonna go back to it so you can remember, you will notice that it creates a dashboard for me. It has a dashboard, and you can move this dashboard around to suit you. But you saw that I could see my code pipeline. It showed me in my code pipeline, and I kicked that off, so we'll see it later. But I'll see that my code pipeline is controlling my code build, my code commit, the push to the CloudFormation template. I can actually alter the CloudFormation template, but it gives you everything that the pipeline is tracking so that it can kick off things that are appropriate. So it already has that pipeline set up for you. You obviously can go into code pipeline, that's why I opened it up, and add different things that you want pipeline to track. So let's say I wanted to track a build, test, and staging, and then have an approval process kick off before it goes to production. You can alter your code pipeline to do that. And you can actually do a lot of this in the dashboard. So the key thing about the dashboard is it shows everything. What's development activities happening, so any commits that happen in code commit, any builds that got made, any failures, all of that can be shown here. What you also can do as you start to add team members to CodeStar is what you can do is add your team wiki, and that's going to be on that screen as well. And it can be drag or drop, or you guys can get savvy and go and change the HTML for it. But you can actually customize your team wiki, and we have tiles that we give you to say the things that are key for everybody in the team to see. So when they go into CodeStar, let's say they all need to see the latest development builds that happened and what was the results, you can add a tile to that team wiki and that's what happened. So again, CodeStar has a dashboard, it's unified. You can add extensions as well. That what makes that happen is anything that you want to see, including like the issue tracking we'll talk about, will be there. Okay, now working with teams, you have 3 different roles. This is key to remember. So when you create a CodeStar project, you are creating a collaborative CI/CD environment. We talked about that. That's why I level set that. You have 3 roles that you can have as the project owner. As the project owner, because people get confused. As the project owner in CodeStar, not on your teams. You guys have plenty of roles there. As a project owner in CodeStar. So you can be an owner, a contributor, or a viewer. And you can read the slides here. It gives you certain privileges. And then you can have project team members that are just users, and they may have different uses as well. So once you have your team set up, you can then start to add people to their team by adding either their aliases. You're going to do this in IM. I have a detailed blog on it. If you ever read the blog on the main Jeff Barr blog, I have a blog post detailing how you add users, so I won't go through that here. I will point you there. But you can add users really easily and then making sure that they are part of the IM role, right? Let me get my little clicker so I don't get back there. Now, I talked about the pipeline. So you saw when I created that project, the first thing it did was it created a pipeline for me for continuous delivery. So it had all of these parts to it that you can see. Mine didn't have code deploy because instead of doing an EC2, I did serverless. But it pretty much created that. Now, let's talk about, though, what is a part of each one of those. So really quickly, code commit is just a version of a commit service. It's your own private Git repository. It's the AWS hosted Git. That's the gist of it. And you're going to push your changes to that, your source. And you don't have to worry about scaling it or anything else. Again, it's your private Git repository. It has all the standard functionality of Git. We've changed nothing and done nothing there. Code build, however, if you're not familiar, let me ask the question. How many people know what code build is? Okay, I'm going to test you. I actually have an AWS credit card in my thing that doesn't expire in November. Give me the right answer. What's code build? You raise your hand, not me. Okay, you're close enough. I'll give it to you. I'll be nice today. You missed some stuff, but it's okay. I got you. So don't forget to come out. All right. So pretty much, he's mostly right. You put your code there, but you can run tests out of code build. You can add the different software packages that you want to have with code build. You can provision different other things that from your build spec that should be compiled and built for it. So it's everything that's involved with that. So not just your building of your code. If you have other software packages that need to go in it, you add that in your build spec, and it'll compile and build all of that and package it for you. So okay, just want to test you guys. People raise their hand. Let's see. Now, testing. What we do here is we support third-party testing tools. It says that on the screen, right? But what do we support? It's hard to find this on our documentation. If you say I said that, I will pretend like I didn't. But it can be a little challenging to find it, so I wanted to put it here. These are the ones that right now we have great integration of the test tools. So we have Abacus, Storm Runner, Blaze Meter, Ghost Inspector, and RunScope. I plan to go over these, but for lack of time, if you're more interested in these, come to me afterwards. I'll explain what each of them do, or I'll point you to the link that's hard to find, which I didn't really say, to tell you how they operate. But then we integrate with this tooling for testing. And then you have production. Remember, 3 different production environments. You can do code deploy, Elastic Beanstalk, or a Lambda for a hosting environment. So what that means, if I'm doing code deploy, I'm doing EC2, or I can do an on-premise. Code deploy can actually deploy stuff for you on-premise. So I wanted to actually put that out there so you're clear. I can do Elastic Beanstalk, which still is going to run on EC2. That's my other option. And then I can use CloudFormation templates with SAM. SAM is Serverless Application Model. If you guys are not familiar, it's the way you can actually script out your building for serverless applications, just like you would do with code deploy and EC2. Okay, so yes.
migrations, can you write a script that will run those tests?
Ah, such a great question. Yes, you can. In fact, if I ever finish my blog post on CI/CD, I actually have a build script in there that I wrote in Python, and the code is in different languages, so you could see that actually goes through and kicks off and does some testing to give a fail or pass. And my code is fake, so I'm doing a random pass or fail and see what happens. But yes, is the answer to your question. You absolutely can do that. We have blog posts on it on the compute blog, but I'm actually, if I ever finish it, and again, I'll deny I said that too, one we're going to have on the main blog as well. But yes, to answer your question, you absolutely can do that.
Also where you would export code coverage or other reporting.
You can, absolutely. You can put that in there as well. So the great thing about this is not only, if you notice their IDEs, you know, some IDEs already have some code coverage things you can kick off. You don't worry about that. Okay, well, for other people who may not use Emacs, you can actually kick that off from once you connect your tools to it as well. But again, these are just scripting. We're not prohibiting you from doing anything. We're just trying to make it easier for you to get things done. All right, so, okay. Yeah. Wait 1 second. Yes. I absolutely can't hear you. I want to really bad.
Templates you can use for the installation.
Yeah, Code Pipeline is like I said before when I first started, CodeStar helps to provision all these things. But at the end of the day, it is using the core AWS code services. So for instance, if you had parts of your pipeline already created, and let's say you kicked off a project and you wanted to tie this pipeline to it, if you notice when I clicked on the pipeline, it actually started to open up my tab with Code Pipeline. I could alter things there, and it still would be stored and tracked in CodeStar. So again, CodeStar is not taking anything away from the core services it's using. It's just helping you to quickly provision those services so you can easily get started with projects or easily alter projects and then have a tracking mechanism. So to answer your question, absolutely. Again, I will say this probably a million more times. CodeStar is not taking anything away. I can script out my entire thing and just push CodeStar for a project and decided I want to script out everything, have things kick off, and then I still see the dashboard to provision it. Okay, I'm going to... why not? I need to actually go on, so if you would please table, just give me like 5 minutes to go through because I'm already well behind time and I've been warned about the time. I promise I will stay to the side and answer every question.
Tell them you're an evangelist.
Right, I'm an evangelist. I got to talk. Exactly. Thank you. All right, so let's do the quick demo because I'm running quickly out of time on continuous pipeline. And then I'm going to have to punt really quickly, but let's just try to do this really quickly. All right, so the Tel Aviv project is completed. If I wanted to, for instance, let's go to the command line really quickly. So the Tel Aviv project is completed. If I wanted to have this project from the command line and actually make a change, right? I would do a git clone. And what I could do, because my pipeline has my source here, I can actually look at my code commit details here by actually going into code commit, or I can click connect. And the reason why I'm clicking these things so you can see is actually it's going into the service. Again, we're not taking anything away from you with CodeStar. We're just trying to make it easier for you to get started. That's all. Like here you see the code pipeline from Tel Aviv I created. I can literally go in and edit this outside of CodeStar if I want to. Nothing is changing what you would do. We're just trying to make it easier. All right. So here I can connect to, and it shows as my repository. I'm just going to do command line really quickly for time. So I'm going to copy my Git repository here. That's my test again. Let's go there. I'm going to copy my clone, so just hit paste there. Now, it's going to come up with my credentials. And I want it to because I want to show you something here. When you're doing CodeStar and you're doing code commit, you need to make sure whatever user you provision in IAM actually has Git credentials. And I already have mine here, so I'm going to just copy and paste it. And I'll reset the password so I can be secure. But again, I had created this Terra user person for it. That has my Git credentials. This is in IAM, and this is my role. So the thing you need to know when you're setting up CodeStar is to make sure, and we go through this in the setup, that you have Git credentials provisioned for the user that you are going to do this with, or the users. You need to have the credentials. You know we're always secure first. So back here, for my Git credentials, which I, again, pasted here so I can quickly do this because I knew my time would be waning. I can paste my name and this convoluted password, because if you can get that, you're better than I. I'm going to click OK. Somebody memorized it, and if you're that good, you deserve to break into my test project. All right, so it unpacked all the things. You see that now I have the test Tel Aviv project and the test again project. If I go to the Tel Aviv project, you'll see that the sample project that got created is there. So what I want to do for this project, this test project, I actually have the test again one up, so I'm going to use it really quickly because I'm time. I changed the congratulations that you see. So let's go back to here. So this is the project that you see. It just says, congratulations, you created a node. I'm changing one of the files to say, congratulations, you're at AWS Tel Aviv. I didn't put Summit, but you guys get it. I'm going to hit save. And because I'm just doing a Git here, what would I type? Well, status, but I'm trying to be hurried. What would I do to push it? Come on, work with me here. Thank you. See, you guys are like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to quickly add it. Yeah, I'm not going to do the right stuff here. I'm in a hurry. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to public. What can I type today? Am I in the right folder? No, that's why I can't type. I have all of these drivers up here, but no one is actually driving but me. Okay, can I do this, please? All these backseat drivers. I got this, I promise. All right, so I just changed the index HTML. So I'm going to git add this to my project. Well, I really can't type today. Right, that's what I should have, right? Okay, so now, because everyone is screaming at me about the Git status, they just really wanted to see that. You feel better? Okay, great. So I'm going to do a Git commit really quickly here. Tel Aviv, just because I don't feel like writing anything else. And then I'm going to do the good old-fashioned push. Okay, great. So I just pushed this and I changed it. Now I'm going to go back to my CodeStar project. I think I just pushed in test again, I think. Yeah. Okay, so here, what's going to happen here, and again, I know it's not 6 a.m. for you guys, it's 6 a.m. for me though, so what'll happen now in my code pipeline, once it gets that push to come across, I'm in the right project, yep, it's actually going to kick off my code pipeline and deploy this automatically. I'm going to go to the pipeline here and see if I can see it better. So let's see. We got anything going? Of course it's going to be slow because, again, here it is. Okay. So you'll see, and you can see this in the dashboard, but I'm really impatient, so I wanted you guys to see it because my time is gone. I just pushed that, so automatically my pipeline is kicking off. It says that it's now in process of making sure that code commit is gone. And so once that is finished, it's going to do a build, and you'll see that congratulations, Tel Aviv is up there. I'm going to let that go, let it keep going while I go through the slides, because I only have a few left, and I have literally no time left. So I'm going to let that go, and then I'll show you at the end. Come on, come on, come on. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about with CodeStar in my limited time is continuous integration and deployment was how do I integrate issue tracking in. What we have is a system where you can put any third-party extension in, but we have a collaboration with the Jira tracking tool where the first 2,000 people to sign up for Jira via CodeStar gets a free Jira deployment. And you can actually then integrate this extension. We have other extensions, but this is the one that we have for issue tracking. You can integrate this extension into your project where now you can track the issues that come across and manage those. So if I would create a new Jira ticket, then in my dashboard, what I'll see is the ticket, who's it assigned to, and people can actually work on it. Again, if you push that to the pipeline, let's say that goes to your test, then you can see the changes that are happening in test. And again, you're really building your CI/CD that encompasses everything. Testing, issuing, tracking, everything, deploying, etc. But the offer that's going on right now that I wanted to make sure I put in there was if you sign up for it through CodeStar, you get it free. So that'll be it. I won't have time to demo it because I'm out of time. I know, I'm sorry. They only gave me 40 minutes. Blame them. I wanted more. Is that what it is? I don't think they're going to go for that, but I'll show you afterwards. I'm not going anywhere. Last slide here is you have a few limits. So I would be remiss if I didn't tell you what limits you have. You can create a maximum of 333 projects within one AWS account. So if you have multiple accounts, that's fine. But I want to give you limits. This is on the website too. But again, some people want to know. I don't know. Next time I'll tell them just for you, because I have 7 seconds, that there needs to be a different number. But this is the limitations that you have with it. You have, just be mindful of your project names, your project descriptions. Make sure your user email address is correct. And the key thing I want you to take from this slide, if you don't remember anything else, because you can look at, is that your access is from federated root account or temporary. We have some provisions for that. Pretty much right now, CodeStar only supports IAM users. So if you want to use federated or temporary access users for the project, not for getting to your solution, for the project, you can't do that right now. And I don't know when the time frame is for to do that, because I know that question is coming next. But I want you to know right now, you can only use IAM users and not federated or temporary credentials. And of course, using, well, you always see that root is not permitted. So I am now officially out of time. It's saying that I have negative 51 seconds left. The last thing I'll say is we have a bunch of partners. Most of them are in the expo. So if you're interested in CodeStar or the AWS Code Services and integrating their stuff with it, you can see some of them here. Please go talk to them about it. We definitely want you guys to look at our partners and also really use the code pipeline and code services like you want. The benefits of it, use DevOps. DevOps is great. And with that, that is my time. Here's some summary things to help you started.